We are back at Monmouth Park for Fantasy Football Weekend. It's a Fantasy Sports Network Cup coming up at 5 p.m. and then the Flex League drafts as well. But right now, we are joined by my buddy, George Kurtz. What's going on, George?
Gregg, how are you?
I'm doing very well. And the man that has the 7th overall pick in the Flex League draft, it's Mike Clay. Mike, what's going on?
A lot's going on. I'm hungry. I see it's 2:40. I got about 20 minutes, and I can get some lunch here. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Of course, you have your wristband, so it's free lunch.
That's true.
That's
really
key.
important.
That's the key.
That's why I'm waiting.
I also noticed that you came on with us before 3 p.m. to make sure that you were not here while the food was being served.
Right. I need to be first in line. I'm sitting right next to it, so I can jump right over there, grab some food. So.
You're not stupid, clearly.
Right.
What is being served?
Well, I've been out here for hours, so I have no idea.
I'll bring a burger or something.
Burgers, nice, fair enough.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm hoping.
No food for you,
Mike. You picked 7th in the Flex League draft here, and is there anybody you're talking to? I can assure you, C.J. Anderson will not be there.
Jake's right before me, so I know he's taking him. Yeah.
If you were ahead of him, would you have just taken him just to screw over Jake? Because I would have for sure.
Maybe. Let's see. I have him. I have Anderson 7, so that's about right. I don't know. That could be. I don't know. I don't think I'll get Antonio Brown there, so it's going to be a tough spot there. I'll probably be looking running back there, I think.
Now, do you like drafting? You're in a 14-team Flex League draft year. You're in the 7th spot. That's actually pretty much my favorite spot in the draft because you're directly in the middle. You're in the center of all the runs. It's never going to get past you. You don't have to worry about taking somebody super early because you're right in the middle of the draft, which is awesome. So, how do you feel about your draft spot?
Well, here's the problem though: is this spot right here? It's 11,
right?
Jeff Ratcliffe, and then 2 spots before him, Pat Thorman at 9. They're both PFF guys, so we talk a lot. We have similar draft sheets, cheat sheets. So I think if guys are coming around that turn,
right,
when they're coming up before me, I'm in trouble. I'm not going to get any of those guys that are falling too far. On the other side, though, I think that's where I'm going to have to attack.
George, just wanted to ask you about draft spots as well because, like I said, I like drafting 7. Scott, I asked Scott Angle this question. He goes, I could draft from anywhere and win. But you know what? I want to know a number. I want to know a spot that you like the best in a fantasy football draft.
Well, I'm with you, Gregg. I like the middle because I don't want to be on the wrong end of any runs. You draft first. That's
exactly.
27 picks before you go again.
Many.
If you say, I want to wait on a tight end, and then there's a run. There's 6 or 7 that are gone now before you get to go again. So I prefer to be in the middle. No more than 14 picks there, 14 picks here. Although they tell you over and over again. What do the numbers say? If you pick first, that's your best chance to win.
Right. Yeah, I like early.
You like early, too?
I like early because, it hurts with Arian Foster hurt and Jordy Nelson out because I like the end of round 2 going into 3. There was some awesome values there. Mike Evans.
Yep.
At one time, Jeremy Hill was going in round 3.
Yep.
But with those 2 guys gone now, maybe 2nd through 4th is a good spot right there. You get a good guy coming back around the turn.
We're with Mike Clay, George Kurtz, Gregg Sussman here at Fantasy Football Weekend on the Fantasy Sports Network at Monmouth Park, right outside my stomping grounds here in Jersey. We were talking about, you were saying how the percentages, George, are first overall pick wins more than anybody else. And yet in my home league, which I'm drafting tonight, which is why I have to leave here, the winner has come from the 12th spot 3 consecutive years. Is that just, you guys both are like, whoa, that's crazy. Is that because we all just are awful? Or is it just a lucky thing rather than anything else?
Well, it's a statistical anomaly.
Yes, small sample size.
Small sample size.
Right.
That's our old go-to. Small sample size.
Of course.
Yeah. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, 3 years in a row.
And it's a redraft league?
It's a redraft league. And how about this? I had 12th pick in the draft, and I just traded it because I mocked it out. I was like, you know what? I want to make sure I get one of these wide receivers. So I went up. I traded up for 10, which is as far as I can get. And everyone's like, wow, you just lost the league for yourself. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And I'm like, awesome.
Superstitious, I'm not.
You still have a 1 in 12 shot.
I am superstitious. I'm sorry. I want to talk about a position with both of you guys. We've focused on running backs. We've focused on wide receivers. We've even mentioned quarterbacks. But the tight end position is a very interesting position here this year. Because after Rob Gronkowski and maybe after Jimmy Graham, Travis Kelce, and Greg Olsen, there's mishmash. There is just, I'm not saying garbage because there's a lot of guys I like there, but it's just a complete mishmash of guys. Mike, you have your rankings right in front of you.
I do.
Is after those 4, which I assume are your top 4 in some order, fair?
Yeah, right,
okay.
Right.
Who's next?
Yeah, it's tough. I think you still leave Martellus Bennett there.
Okay.
I think he belongs in 5, even though I think targets come down a little bit in that new offense. But after that, and this is something I've been pushing, you can kind of in the middle rounds take your flyer at tight end, take your backup first, and then get a safe guy later because you can get Larry Donnell, Heath Miller,
Yep.
Jason Witten goes late. You can take guys like that and have that safe early season option. Take a flyer with your other pick, a Tyler Eifert, a Zach Ertz, guys who are going in those middle rounds that you have to invest in.
Right, George?
I'm the same way. I'm not going to take Gronkowski in round 1. That's not going to happen. Probably not going Jimmy Graham. And I like all these guys. Nothing wrong with them, but I'm not the kind of guy that's going to do that. I'd rather load up on wide receivers, running backs. And, your ESP, I think Matthew Berry always says, I'm either going to be the first person to take a tight end or the last. Mm-hmm. I'm probably going to be the last.
Unless it's Witten, I think.
Well, I'm a Cowboy fan. I'll take Jason Witten.
In PPR, too. Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind, but I'd rather wait. They're all the same. They're the top 4 or 5 guys you mentioned. I liked Zach Ertz till he got hurt. Now I'm like, oh, God, I can't even really take him now. Although he's falling now, and I kind of like that. Because you could take Zach Ertz to, say, round 10, 11, and then just taking one of those lesser tight ends later. How much are you really going to lose?
Let me throw a name at you, because I totally agree with both you guys. I might draft Gronk, but if I don't, I'm not taking a tight end until 10th, 11th, whatever. But a name that I just keep really liking is Kyle Rudolph out there in Minnesota. Rudolph is a guy that everybody last year was super high on. And now this year, everything's better. North Turner's still there. Teddy Bridgewater's a year older. He's healthy again. Hopefully he doesn't get unhealthy soon enough. What is your opinion, Mike, of Kyle Rudolph?
Yeah, yesterday I did a 14-teamer, too. And you mentioned not taking Gronk. That's a good strategy in a 14-teamer, especially, because you need to attack those other positions. And I was targeting Rudolph. I missed him by a pick or two. So I'm with you. And Teddy Bridgewater, I mean, I've been writing about him for months. He is fantastic, and he likes Kyle Rudolph. So I'm with you. I think he's a great flyer in that mix.
Is there a tight end flyer that we haven't mentioned, George, that you kind of like?
I don't know if I don't like any tight ends. I'm actually getting annoyed because Kyle Rudolph, people are talking about him too much.
Yep.
I think by the time I have a couple of drafts in September, he's going to keep going up. He's going to be like top 10 now. Right now he's 14 to 16.
Yep.
Love grabbing him. I can wait till the end to grab him, and I'll be thrilled with that.
Totally.
I don't think he busts again.
You just reminded me when Jake Seeley was just on, I mentioned just threw out Danny Woodhead from a PPR perspective, and he rolls his eyes and goes, oh, you don't like Danny Woodhead that much? You're rolling your eyes at me? He's like, no, just stop talking about Danny Woodhead. Because he's a guy that people just forget about. Everyone loves C.J. Spiller, but Danny Woodhead and San Diego, the wide receivers there, nobody's really talking about them. Keenan Allen, Malcolm Floyd, Stevie Johnson, people were high on a little while ago, but then everyone started talking about Eddie Royal, and then you forget about San Diego.
That's the offseason for you.
That is. Mike, what do you think about San Diego? There's some weapons here for us.
Yeah, just had Michael Gelkin on my show the other day on this channel on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, and we were talking about that. He was talking up Stevie a little bit. He said he may push Malcolm Floyd off the field, so he's a guy to watch, but Allen definitely undervalued. He's a borderline wide receiver one, especially in PPR.
Totally undervalued. After last year probably being a bit overvalued. Mike Clay, go and draft. Good luck. George Kurtz, thanks for hanging out. We continue Fantasy Football Weekend here on the Fantasy Sports Network at Monmouth Park right after this.